So you know, like when you go to a car wash and you're like going through it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if you could, like, if they had like a haunted house theme? So, so like, you know, like when you're a kid, you think that like the swishy things are like a
Right.
monster anyway. What if it like really looked like a monster? They're like red glowing lights. Like they made it scary.
Well, just going off of personal experience, when I was a kid, I thought the car wash was actually scary.
What if there was a lot of animatronics?
I wouldn't go within 2 miles of that place as a grown adult.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
I've been recording the whole time.
Okay, good. Speaking of cars,
And things you can do in cars.
let's talk about one place that sometimes people get in cars and watch a movie, the drive-in movie theater.
Of course.
Now, as we all know, the drive-in started in 1933 and, in New Jersey. But that's been spoken of at length. I mean, if you want to know more, you can read the the research paper I wrote junior year in English class.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't know those things. So,
Yeah, I wrote that was my junior English paper. I was just like, I don't know what drive-in is like. I read my drive-in theaters and to cite all these things that were common knowledge to me.
yeah.
But
Yeah, but I bet the teacher, though, your teacher was probably like, finally, a paper that isn't just about, like, I don't know.
legalizing weed.
Yeah. Or Woodstock.
Yeah.
Kids-
Woodstock.
Kids love writing about Woodstock.
They do, especially in
The
the
cartoon
90s.
character, not the festival.
Yes. Yes, especially in the 90s.
Yeah.
I was so confused. They're like, what is Woodstock? Because, of course, I knew about the cartoon character long before I knew of the festival.
Right.
Like, are they related?
I don't know. Most of the people at Woodstock were flighty.
All right.
They wore a lot of feathers, I assume.
They were friends with a dog.
Yeah.
All their friends are a bunch of dogs.
And they just camped out outside.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
And some of the different kinds that like different types of drive-ins. There was one where it was a small screen in front of your individual car,
Really?
which I feel like it was probably like the size of probably like a 40-inch TV today.
Yeah.
But it's just like there were just like a couple hundred or however many. I've seen pictures. I don't know how it works. There's a picture that has like a large series of like tiny mirrors.
Yeah.
Which somehow split it and put it all over the place. I don't know how you would not get in front of the picture. Like somebody walks away.
That
and
just
then, like,
makes no sense.
But I don't think it didn't last, but it
Right.
existed. There was. I just lost my train of thought. There in like early like almost like pre-TV days, there was a place that showed like a boxing match back when boxing was king, on a drive-in screen.
Ooh.
Like this was like before television was popular. They were able to project
Yeah.
like a live stream, and then I guess that didn't catch on because who'd want that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I'd be more inclined to watch boxing
Mhm.
if I could go to just a live broadcast at the drive-in.
Yeah. Rather than pay-per-view, it's just
Right.
you pay and you go in. And they tried something either last summer or the summer before. I think it was a Jimmy Buffett concert that was
Ugh.
broadcast. I know, right?
Gross.
But at least they were trying something.
That's true.
Which is easy to do now with digital. So the ones that were digital were able to have it.
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes they would have like big like creepy promotion. Like the one in Huntington had a man buried underground,
What?
and you could come like look at him through like this piece of glass, just like out in the back.
Yeah.
Just it was a stunt. Why not?
Just like a real man.
Yeah, like a real man. Just like he was going to be buried for like a day or two, underground,
That's terrifying.
just to get you to come out. Speakers. You
Like-
got the drive-in speakers.
Like people would. Do you mean speakers as in like people would give speeches, or speakers as in like the audio device that you would listen to
The audio device. I was
Okay.
making a segue without using a transition.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there were all different kinds that just tried a little something different, you know. Maybe they showed a little bit of the X-rated stuff.
Ooh.
A couple of the triple X-rated.
Ha cha cha.
I mean, the only time that there was ever a triple X movie when I worked there was one with Vin Diesel.
In my opinion, the only triple X movie that matters.
I just like the fact that they tried to make a franchise out of that. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like, hey, let's make a second one. Well, Vin Diesel doesn't want to do it. Okay, who's your second choice?
Wasn't
About Ice Cube.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was Ice-T or Ice Cube.
Ooh, could you imagine? You know, why don't they ever do things together?
I don't know.
Because it would be.
I would love to see a buddy cop movie with those two.
I feel like we could at least get like a Super Bowl commercial for something.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's that.
Like why doesn't Snapple hire
Ooh.
Ice Cube and Ice-T for their Super Bowl commercial?
Well, if I ran the Super Bowl, I would.
I mean, this is kind of off topic, but I think it bears mentioning.
Oh, it does.
What we would do for the halftime for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, the halftime, like I've actually looked up like the Super Bowl doesn't really interest me because I'm not into sports, but like the halftime show and then what premieres after it.
Yeah.
Is always like that the Wikipedia page that tells you those two things I've looked at more than once.
Yeah.
But the halftime show, what would you do if you could?
My musical guest would be David Lynch.
Okay.
And I would have him maybe also perform the national anthem.
Ooh.
Which would probably whip everyone into a frenzy. And not a positive one either.
Especially in this day and age where everything is so
right.
Split.
But I would have David Lynch sing some of his songs, and then maybe have him do a live reading of a popular script.
Really, whatever he wants.
Yeah, whatever he'd like to read.
Now, do you envision him like doing this like solo, or does he have like when he's reading the script, for example? Is there like a group of people who are reading each character?
Well, it depends. It depends on what's being read. Now, if we just give him free rein to read whatever he wants, like maybe he picks a Kathy comic strip, then it's just him. In the first panel, we find Kathy mad. She wants chocolate. That I would just like to watch him for however long the halftime show is.
That's a half hour. I don't know. It's a halftime show. Half hour makes sense.
Act, she says, in the final panel.
Now with the jumbotron. Now, so you'd imagine this is happening live in the middle of the stadium.
There will be no visuals. The comic strip or script or whatever is just in front of him.
Yeah, maybe he has like a music stand or something.
Right. But there's no cutaways to. If there's a comic strip that he's reading, there's no cutaways.
Now, if you're at the stadium, would they project the comic strip on
no
no jumbotron?
It would be focused on David Lynch, and knowing David Lynch, he would not address the crowd. He would only read.
How can we make this happen? Is Kickstarter an option, or should we go with like a GoFundMe?
Maybe a change.org petition?
Ooh, that does make change happen, right?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, well, we've been joined by a young drive-in fan.
And Kill Bill.
And Kill Bill.
Hey, will you talk about the drive-in for 1 minute? Would you like to tell everybody about the drive-in? Say who you are.
Leslie.
And how old are you?
4.5.
So tell about the drive-in. What do you like about the drive-in?
I chose movies.
Can you talk regular?
Is this thing on?
Yes.
Yes.
I want to cut you out.
That's stupid.
Okay. your experience and my experience are quite different.
Very different.
You have been to drive-in movie theater approximately...
Exactly one time.
All right, we'll get to that in a minute. But I have always, like, it's just something that I've always known.
Mm-hmm.
My dad used to take me, and looking back, here are things that my dad doesn't like. Being outside, driving at night, being around, like, cigarette smoke, bugs. So it seems very strange.
Yeah, because you encounter all of those things.
All those things are very commonplace at the drive. Crowds of people. But for whatever reason, he took me, and I remember going, and we went. I remember there was a really prime. It was kind of like the stars aligned, the planets aligned, even.
Nice.
All celestial bodies aligned for this. Where there was this double feature. That was Nightmare on Elm Street 5 and Friday the 13th. With the one where he goes to Manhattan. I want to say it's 8. I think it's 7 or 8 or 6 or it's one of them. But the stars aligned where the release pattern worked out so that they were both out at the same time, and it was a double feature, and we saw that together. We'd gone a couple other times.
Now, which drive-in movie theater did you go to?
Huntington was the closest, and that's one we worked at for many years. Went there a lot. One time I went to one that was in Fort Wayne, but kind of near, technically it might be in New Haven, but it's around the area, where we saw a triple feature.
Whoa.
First was that cartoon classic, Hey There, It's Yogi Bear.
Of course.
Which started before it was dark, so you couldn't see it at all. Followed by the internally disappointing Mac and Me.
I don't even know what that is.
Well, you know E.T.?
Yeah.
Take away the charm and add lots more McDonald's product placement. You've got Mac and Me.
Really?
Yes. Also, like 7 years later, like not even like it wasn't like a cheap cash in quickly. It was a cheap cash in years later.
Well, I kind of want to see that now.
You don't. I watched part of it recently, and I couldn't. Followed by the also disappointing Big Top Pee Wee.
Okay.
I believe we talked about how great Pee Wee's Big Adventure is.
Right.
Well,
not so great.
If this was like a chart of like, I don't know, like businessmen talking around and be like quality, it's like here's in the red or the black, then all the way down to the red, like below the line.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's like I stayed up for this. Basically, was what I was feeling. Yeah. Basically, my dad would take me occasionally to a film appropriate for a young child, and then also like we went and saw. I mean, we saw probably lots of things. I remember we went to go see a double feature of Skin Deep. Now, you probably don't know what Skin Deep is, but from the title, I bet you can take a guess.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Let's see. Let's get a plot description. So this would have been in 89, so apparently the same year as I would have been 8. So my dad's like, hey, we got to go to the drive-in because the second feature, the one we were there for, was The Fly 2.
Really?
Yes. The inferior sequel to The Fly. It's like, hey, we got to go see The Fly 2. It's one at the drive-in. All right, what's first? We got to go to the double feature. You don't want to.
Right.
You want to get your money's worth. So Skin Deep is a sex comedy with John Ritter, where the plot description is a womanizing drunken allelic. Is this a word, or is somebody making a mistake?
How do you spell it?
Allelic.
I've never heard of that word.
You know
before.
what? Let's find out if there's a. Okay. It is a. Google defines this as. I know these are words. Okay, let me try and read this out loud. Allelic heterogeneity is the phenomenon in which different mutations at the same locus cause a similar phenotype. That can't be right. These allelic variations can arise as a result of natural selection processes. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's probably what it was about. I don't remember.
It's interesting.
But basically, he gets in trouble with the ladies.
Okay.
It's a sex comedy that has the tagline is the comedy that glows in the dark, and glows is in all capital and different font, different color. Because apparently, according to I don't remember, but on here there's a really hilarious scene where there's glow in the dark condoms.
Whoa.
Yeah, but at least I got to stay up for The Fly too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, so that was the 80s. 90 comes around.
Mm-hmm.
Drive-in opens for the season. My dad worked at the Tab, the local free newspaper in the county.
Yeah.
And they had started advertising in the Tab. The Tab was it was like the young up-and-comer.
Right.
It had only been around a couple of years, and it's like, hey, we got this. My dad sold ads for the Tab, and he's like, he got this good get. He got some good leads there.
Nice.
And he got the theater and drive-in. And the theater's like, hey, let's have this special 2-for-1 deal.
Ooh.
So you bring in the ad from the Tab, buy one, get one free admission.
Whoa.
So we went to the drive-in, and it was the opening weekend of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Ernest Scared Stupid and Space Invaders.
Okay.
No. Whoa. Ernest Goes to Jail.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't want to.
But Space Invaders.
Yes.
Okay.
And showing at the theater was, so we went, all right, hey, it's the drive-in, whatever. We went to the theater that week and saw, because my dad's like, oh, well, we got to go see this movie in the theater. We didn't go see a lot of movies in the theater, but like he took me to see Child's Play. He took me.
Okay.
We went and saw Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
Really?
Are you aware of this movie?
I've heard of it.
It's an anthology picture. It's got a young Steve Buscemi in it, a young Julianne Moore.
Nice.
There's one about gargoyles that come to life. There's one about based on the Stephen King story, The Cat from Hell.
Oh yeah.
Where the cat well, spoilers I guess for the story, but it ends with the cat crawling out of a person's body through their mouth. It's fantastic.
As Hellcats do.
Yeah. So we're going to see that, and I'm really into credits at this point.
Okay.
I'm so into I gotta watch the credits.
Yeah.
And while I'm watching the credits, my dad's talking to the manager, and my dad's like, I have like 16 millimeter movies at home, and I've been into movies. Like, we need somebody to work at the drive-in. Would you like to work part-time at the drive-in? And he's like, all right. So I'm watching these credits. He's getting a job.
Nice.
I mean, it was the 90s that you
could just do that.
You could just get a job just by watching some credits.
Right.
So he starts working there that weekend, and we ended up. He ended up working there, and I was 9 and actually technically work there for 11 seasons.
Wow.
And then we ended up working at a different drive-in for the same company for another year and a half.
Okay.
So it's 1990. My dad's pretty much running the movies at the drive-in.
Oh man.
I'm there. Obviously, it's been established that there are really no content restrictions on what I can watch.
Right.
So I go. I get free soda and free popcorn as much as possible. It's great, but I used to weigh a lot less before that. And at the time, now movies on film, as they have pretty much since they had film, even to today, for places that still get film, they're shipped out on reels that hold about 20 minutes worth of the movie. And when we started working there, they had the 2 projectors set up, which. So if you ever see a movie on film and you see the little dots
right
in the corner of the screen, well, the first dot, here's what you had to do. You got the one reel set up and you got the other one. When you see the dot, you start the projector. You start it going, and then the second dot is when you step on this. There was this little pedal on the floor. You step on that and you flip a switch so that it cuts the sound from one to the other. The pedal switches the light source. The switch flips the sound. The audience doesn't know the difference.
Seamless.
And then you get the next reel ready. It made it really hard to try and watch the movie while you were working.
Well, yeah.
Because you have to spend 3 or 4 minutes getting the next one ready. But so I was able to do that. In 92 was the last summer that we had that. I actually did the last reel changeover ever at the Huntington Drive-In.
Did you really?
I did. Between reel 6 and reel 7 of Death Becomes Her.
Wow.
That was me. So let the record show that I did that.
Good night, ladies.
And then at that time, also the way to get the light, it was what's called a carbon arc, where it was this big carbon rod.
Okay.
I guess. I mean, it's called carbon. I don't know. It's probably it's just this big rod that was dirty on your gloves, and then you turned on some power and. This little match type thing hit it, and then it would just illuminate the screen.
Wow.
Well, we got rid of that when we got the big platter.
Oh,
so it was it's bigger than this table. I don't know. I couldn't reach across it. It was huge.
So it looks like, I don't know, the table is probably what,
This table's probably
3 feet,
maybe 4 feet. These are probably 5-6 feet wide.
Yeah.
We got a 4,000 watt xenon bulb.
Whoa.
And the plotter is big enough that you could easily fit 2 feature-length movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most we ever fit on there at one time was about 5 hours.
Okay.
And that was pushing it, but you put it there, you press one button, and it starts up, and you do nothing. As long as it runs through fine, you do nothing else.
Wow.
But the movie still came in on the reel, so you'd have to put the reel on, wind it up.
Right.
Then you put the next reel. You make sure you don't get them out of order or backwards or whoa. So I started doing that shortly after as a young kid. Probably if there was like a union, I was not a part of it. There would probably be picketing if I knew that. Now everything's digital, so
completely different.
C'est la vie. But as working there for many seasons, I saw a lot of movies. Now you've been to the drive-in one time. I've been to the drive-in countless times.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your experience. Now I was there.
Yes, you were there. You actually gave me my first drive-in experience.
Yes.
And I must say I really enjoyed it, but it is kind of a dangerous thing for me because I think I got too comfortable in the second movie. So we watched, it was a double feature of Tomorrowland and The Avengers Age of Ultron.
Which Tomorrowland is probably a good because it's like the past and the past version of the future, which is kind of what drive-ins are.
Right.
It's like, hey, in the future, you're going to sit in your car.
But I mean, it's really cool because they have the sound broadcast over like a tiny little FM transmitter. And it was nice, just sitting in the back of the van. And
yeah, my son was there. He enjoys the drive, and he's definitely been more than you.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I just think there aren't a lot left. Though the ones that are open are still fairly seem to be doing fairly well for themselves. But yeah, you got a little too comfortable.
I got a little too comfortable. It was so relaxing, like being able to fully recline in the back of the van.
Yeah.
During the Age of Ultron, I kind of dozed off in some places because it was just like it was such a nice viewing experience because I felt like I was at home almost, just because you were out with other people, but at the same time you're in your own little space.
Yeah.
With whatever vehicle you came in.
So it could have a very uncomfortable experience if your car is junk.
Right.
Or you could have really nice. I mean, it had like an old mattress in there. It was just lots of blankets, pillows, galore. So many pillows.
Top notch.
It was like a woman's bed. Is that sexist?
Well, everyone knows that men, when left to their own devices, just sleep on beds of nails.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no sheets, no nothing. Just
nope. It's the women folk that put all the frills on.
Yeah, especially with frills.
Yeah, well, duh. And of course, I'm sure this happens all the time at the drive-in. Well, clearly it did because they were ready for it. A lot of cars, their battery died.
Yes.
And so they had chargers dispersed throughout the park, and
kind of like almost like AEDs for for
and,
vehicles.
Well, actually, so at the end of the first movie, Tomorrowland, there was a truck parked right in front of us whose battery had died, and so for the last 15 minutes,
or pretty much the finale.
Yeah, the whole finale.
They're like, we're gonna leave.
They had the hood up, and they were trying to jumpstart their truck. So a lot of the screen was blocked, but after that we moved during intermission.
Got a prime location. Boom.
It was great.
Field of vision filled.
But I will say I do like the drive-in experience. Probably take a hot date there soon.
Ooh. Well, and that's one of the things about I mean, historically the drive-in has been like the den of sin kind of.
Well, yeah.
Kind of the idea where the young folks go to make them babies. I mean, you've heard that old wives' tale about like the guy, like the two couples. who they had one condom and they shared in and the second one flipped it inside out. That story takes place at a drive-in.
I have never
You've never
heard that
this?
before.
Okay.
That is so gross. So gross.
And then the second girl gets pregnant from the first guy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. You never. That's
No.
maybe that's in one of the later urban legend movies. I don't know. I never saw past the first one.
Yeah.
I hope it is. And if it's not, they need to make a new urban legend movie to put that in there.
Well, yeah. But that sounds like such a 50s thing to do. Like I picture the characters of Grease doing that.
Mm-hmm. Which they did go to a drive-in in Greece.
Oh, yeah.
Which when they re-released it for the 20th anniversary, we showed it. We showed it at least twice. We showed it on two. We showed it, and then we brought it back like a few weeks later to show it again. Because it's Greece. It's what are you gonna do?
Right.
I mean, you can't stop it.
Grease is the word.
And my favorite part of Greece is that adults always forget how dirty it is.
Yeah.
When they show it to kids.
No, I don't think my parents even thought of how dirty it was when they first showed me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even catch any of the innuendo or any of the
grease lightning.
Yeah. Or even like at the drive-in where he's like trying to get her to have sex with him.
Yeah, that's cool because that's what the drive-in's all about.
Like completely over my head. But then when I was older and I watched it, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe my parents let me watch this.
Yeah. That's kind of how Grease is.
Yeah.
But hey, it's PG, so it's it's
fine.
As family friendly as Shrek, which is also really dirty.
Yeah.
But at least that was on purpose to.
I think Grease was dirty on purpose.
But also that was when they didn't have any. It was like it's not rated. It's not R rated.
Right.
It's PG.
Right.
But a lot of the drive-in idea was that it was for the youngins to go and seam up the windows, if you know what I'm saying. And that mentality pretty much carries on till and then there's also the idea of what a drive-in movie is. Mm-hmm. Like the 60s and 70s version of a drive-in movie was like, fast races, girls in prison, things like that, and that's not really what shows anymore.
No.
I mean, most of the drive-ins pretty much are showing the big PG-13 hits.
Well, it's basically the experience you would get at a normal movie theater, just in your car.
I mean, the most drive-in type movies, like some low-budget horror, they rarely show. Mm-hmm. At least at the drive-ins around here. Yeah, I'm sure that. I mean, there are. I mean, there's nowhere near the 1950s boom of a drive-in in every small town.
Right.
But there are still quite a few, and they seem to be doing well. A lot of them that made it to like the 90s have pretty much, unless something has happened, like the land is gone. And one of my favorite things about the drive-in are the double features. Now, for me, a pure drive-in is a single screen theater with a double feature.
Yeah.
If you only show one movie, forget about it.
Yeah.
What's the deal? More than one screen? I don't know. It's not pure.
No.
Like two screens? No. But like once you get once you reach a certain point, like there's this one that's up in Michigan called the Ford Wyoming Drive-In. It has 5 theaters. It has 5 screens.
Really?
In one complex. Like that's the point where it's like, all right, well that's okay. Like that's so many. You just gotta, and it's open year round.
So okay, riddle me this. How do they divide the screens up then? Do they have like pine trees dividing each section, or is it like you could look over and see whatever movie's playing on that screen? And
well, let's go to Google Maps and take a little look-see, and see if we can figure that out. It's pretty much in Detroit. Dearborn.
Okay.
According to Google Earth's above image, they're just kind of the shape of it is kind of like the lot is kind of like a triangle.
Okay.
And then,
I can kind of see that.
So clearly it like used to just have one, and then they added.
Right.
Because there's one concession stand.
Mm-hmm. Like right in the middle.
Yeah. and then it just kind of, you just sort of go where you're supposed to go, I guess.
Interesting.
And
Do you think Madonna ever went there if it's by Dearborn?
oh, I don't know. The one of the probably. So one of my favorite parts is the double features and what plays together.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me, and it always has been. Now, we saw Tomorrowland and the Avengers, both owned by Disney. Tomorrowland was brand new. Avengers had been there a couple weeks. Made sense to play them together. And that's typically it's movies that are the same studio. So it's, maybe like a newer movie, what they call the A picture,
Right.
with the B picture, something that's not as popular or older, are basically what defines that. B picture could be yesterday's A picture, so they say. And for a good double feature, it's usually either something by the same studio, and sometimes that gets you weird combinations. Now, I worked at the Huntington Drive-In from 1990 through 2001. And then in Wabash at the 1324 Drive-In, which now only shows one movie. That's, from 2002 to 2003 for those 2 seasons. And just, what's showing. I also frequented the Auburn Garrett Drive-In and have looked into archives of newspapers to find out what played in the past, to find out what are some good double features.
Okay.
The summer between my 7th and 8th grade year, I spent some time looking up the Huntington Drive-In from 1950 on at the library. That's what I would go do, looking through microfilm.
Yeah.
Scrolling through it, because it's like a movie reel.
Well, okay. How do you how did you get interested in what played? Were you just always kind of curious?
I was just always kind of curious of what, because we would show all right, here's what we're showing. What are we opening with? What movies are playing? And it was a lot more commonplace even up through the 90s to play. It would be May, and you're showing 2 movies that are like 6 months old.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, if a movie's 6 months old, it's like on Netflix. It's like an old release of the video. I mean, it's not even at the video store because video stores don't exist. But it's old. It's like there's no wait on the Netflix disc queue if you basically. That's how old these things are.
Right.
One of my favorite double features, we opened in '91 with Home Alone and Edward Scissorhands.
Ooh, nice. That's a good pairing.
And they were both Fox movies, which is why they were together.
Right.
It probably was dirt cheap to get them because they were quite old. Because the reason that you wouldn't have like 2 brand new movies playing is because you have to pay a percentage for each movie. At a regular theater, it's just, you pay however much. At a drive-in, you pay the older it is, the less you have to pay. So if you have like a brand new movie, it would make sense to have, like, let's say you're paying 50-60% of your admission just to play like the brand new movie. Well, you don't want to pay, 30-40% for the second movie and make like no money. So that's why a lot of times you'd have like the brand new movie and they're like, what the heck is that? Like a really old unpopular movie.
Right.
And we did that a lot, like Independence Day, brand new, biggest movie of all time. Broken Arrow, 6-month-old on video actioner with John Travolta.
Everyone's favorite.
Yes. Is also like all scratched up. Like this print had just been ever. Which is one of the things I do like about digital is that first of all, it takes away a little bit of the it's sometimes it's nice to see a movie that's all scratched up and clearly been beat up, but also not really.
Yeah, because even like no matter how long it's been out, it's still going to be pristine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also because usually the reason that they got messed up is because there's like some like teenager who didn't know what they were doing. Whereas, and as a teenager doing that, it was like, well, I know what I'm doing. I'm not scratching up the prints.
Right.
But so I'm looking up what showed, and it continues to this day.
Yeah.
I've looked up the Auburn Garrett Drive-In, as well as the Huntington Drive-In, as well as using newspapers on Google.
Mm-hmm.
I found one in Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
And I've been looking them up lately because, well, that interests me for some reason.
Well,
I don't really know why, but there've been some good double features. Some strange double features too.
Mm-hmm.
At Auburn, they had a double feature of Air Bud 2.
Okay.
G-rated talking animal movie
Right.
with Rounders, this R-rated Matt Damon, Edward Norton gambling picture. Because why? They both were released by Miramax.
Okay.
That's because that's just how you do it, right?
Well, of course.
Miramax used to be Miramax was really picky. Miramax and Dimension, and they're like, you must, if you're going to show one of our movies, you're going to show another one of our movies with it. It's like, how dare you consider showing something else?
Of course.
Because we're Miramax. We're the future. We're bringing
Yeah.
we're bringing everything.
We're Miramax and we're here to stay.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Miramax has been long gone.
Yes.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you had a drive-in movie theater,
Mm-hmm.
and we've done this scenario before. Right now, let's say you're in the season.
Mm-hmm.
What would you be playing?
Well-
What would be playing this weekend?
Well, now I've actually made up double features for while I would make ads. My grandparents used to save the Indie Star,
Mm-hmm.
the movie section.
Uh-huh.
So we'd go visit and be like, here's like 3 months worth of Indie Stars for you, and then I would cut out the movie ads and be like, well, this is what's showing at my drive-in, and I would change it up. Since 2006,
Yeah.
I have a fake drive-in
Yeah.
that every Monday I choose what's showing that weekend.
Yeah.
And then I stick to it. And it has a Facebook page. It has 1 like, and that's me. I update it every week.
See, I didn't even know that existed.
It's just for my own personal benefit. It's just the JB Drive-In.
I'm gonna like it on Facebook.
It's a fake drive-in, and here's what we're showing. We actually this weekend are having a very bro-tastic triple feature.
Let me guess.
For 4th of July weekend.
Let me see if I can guess.
If you can guess the 3 and guess the order.
All right. So I'm gonna say Ted 2 is probably the first.
That's the
one.
first feature. You are correct. You're one for one so far.
Second one.
This one's more about bros than for bros.
Really? Magic Mike Double XL, huh?
Yep. Figure it's go big or go home.
Well, for the ladies,
Yeah.
Ted
2's for everybody.
Yeah, Ted 2 and Entourage. I feel like those are like what you see with your guy friends.
Mm-hmm.
But then Magic Mike XL
For the ladies right there in the middle.
yeah.
Yes. Now, I probably will never see any of those movies.
Yeah.
But because now, even though it's my fake drive-in, I still try and keep it realistic of what could actually show. I mean, because
Right.
truthfully, I could show whatever I wanted. But
Yeah.
I try and keep it within the realm of I imagine that it's kind of in a mid-sized town
Mm-hmm.
where it's pretty much like if I was in charge at Huntington.
Yeah.
Still, what I would pick. So occasionally I'll throw in something that's a little more independent style or something I'm interested in if it gets a wide enough release.
Well, a few months ago, if I remember correctly, didn't you have What We Do in the Shadows and It Follows?
I did decide to show What We Do in the Shadows as the third feature for Memorial Day because I figured I was like, and I was like, you know what? It's my fake drive-in. I can show What We Do in the Shadows if I want because it's not real. But I probably could have gotten it to show at a real drive-in.
Yeah.
We did show It Follows, but it got a wide release, so that
Yeah.
therefore it fits the pattern.
Right.
Pretty much everything is I'm on numerous email lists of other drive-ins from around the country.
Okay.
So I like on like Wednesday, I'll be like, oh, here's what's showing at this place.
So you're well informed.
I am. One of the things that I kind of now the Huntington Drive-In, in 2001 it was bought by a couple, and they ran it for many years, and it recently sold to a chain, the chain who bought out the old theater that used to be in town, and they made it all digital, but they don't advertise anymore. I was talking to my dad.
Really?
They don't advertise in the paper. They don't even have a marquee. They took that down. I thought they took it down so they could put something more modern up.
Right.
They took it down and there's nothing there.
So how do people know what's playing?
Not even Facebook, because their Facebook page isn't updated frequently. Their website.
Oh.
That's it. Well, I went on a Thursday, opening night of Inside Out. First time I've been there in years. Just because, it's like, first of all, it's 2 screens. It's an abomination.
Right.
And also, I worked there for like 12 seasons. I have a lot of memories. I don't want to go tarnish it.
Right.
But I'm like, hey, Inside Out showing. I'm going to take my son. It's right here. It's right now. I would be surprised if there had been 10 cars there.
Really?
Yeah. For both screens.
Oh.
Also, what they were showing at Inside Out, which is sort of brings, they were showing Alexander and the No Good, Very Good, Bad, Terrible, whatever.
Yeah, that's been out for a really
That came
long
out in
time.
October.
Yeah.
But it fits the pattern of the old style of drive, which I kind of like, because the old drive-in, they used to be like, you know what? Let's just show whatever we want. A lot of times, a lot through the 80s, like, for example, Friday the 13th, let's say Friday the 13th Part 4 just came out. It'd be like, hey, triple feature, Friday the 13th Part 4, then the original, then Part 2. In that order.
Okay.
They used to have like, triple, quadruple features. This one I've been looking at in Ohio, in Toledo, it's called the Sundance Kid Drive-In. Well, going back to 89, guess what there used to be, Companion Drive-In used to be. That was in the
Butch
same.
Cassidy?
Yes.
Nice.
But then it closed, but then, hey, it's still a Sundance Kid. In 1990, June 15th, brand new opening, Dick Tracy.
Nice.
Opening movie.
Okay.
With Batman. Pretty good double feature, right?
Yeah.
What's the only problem with Batman?
Wait. Did Batman come out?
Batman was
was the new one, right?
Batman was about a year old at this point.
Was it?
Yes. Dick Tracy was brand new. Batman came out almost a year to the day.
Oh, okay.
Previously. Good double feature, but really old movie with it.
Yep.
Another thing that it's with this one, as well as with other like big city drive-ins. Like, I've looked up some of the ones in Fort Wayne. The one that was pretty kind of on the border between like New Haven, it's called the East 30, and that was one that I went to. I looked them up. They were open in 1990. It was their last season, and they showed Pretty Woman for like 8 weeks in a row.
Wow.
It
like,
was just
just Pretty Woman?
No, like something else with it. And usually it was a different movie every time.
Okay.
But it was like, hey, like 8 weeks of Pretty Woman. And one of the things I found is that the smaller towns it's almost feel like an obligation to show as many movies as possible.
Right.
But the big city ones are like, hey, here's a movie that's popular, let's just run it forever. And I found that's true. One thing that here on their 2 screens, these 2 double features, at the Sundance Kid Drive-In. Like if I could travel back in time, like I wouldn't like go and change the past. I would like go to like really cool double features. Screen 1, Arachnophobia and Tremors.
Really?
I'd go see that.
Yeah, that's a great double feature.
Screen 2, Gremlins 2 and Joe versus the Volcano.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I mean, I'm more interested in Tremors.
I would go to both. I would have to go back 2 nights and see both of those. But like, it's just things like that. Some of the 80s used to be like, well, in the 80s, you either showed like family movies or pornography. And a lot of times you showed kind of a mix.
Yeah.
Like the ones that still existed in Fort Wayne, they would try and have like the local radio station would have like promotional nights. Like, oh, it's, 97.3 WME night at the drive-in. Hot dogs are 97.3 cents or 97 cents probably, but probably admission actually. Hot dogs would have been like a nickel.
Right.
Inflation. One of the things they had was called sport. They had a sports night where they showed a couple sports themed movies. But one of the things you could win was a copy of Huey Lewis and the News album Sports.
Count me in.
Because sports, right? Right. But at Huntington we tried to do that. My dad being in his day job was selling ads for the tab, so he would go around and talk to people, and he would be like, oh, also, my night job is I work at the drive-in, so do you want to donate anything? We'll have a drawing. Now we actually there was a drawing when we went when your one and only drive-in time, there was a drawing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the drawing was for we did not win, but we were close, I believe. It was like free passes and concession items, and we would give those away too. But then we would also for a couple good years, we there was some store. It was like a really generic name. Like I want to say it was called the Home Store.
Yeah. Okay.
And they would just they had I mean, sorry to the people who run the Home Store because I know you're listening. They had just like random crap that they sold.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's some random crap we don't want in our store. Here you go. Gave it to my dad, and it would be like a drawing. You get to pick a prize from this pile of random crap from the Home Store, like a tiny doll chair, I think.
What everybody wants.
We gave away a lot of free passes too, because that was what people wanted.
Yeah.
Now, in the many, many years that I worked at a drive-in theater, my father accumulated a lot of film clips of different things, and we would show them. We had it was a music video of the Addams Groove from the first Addams Family movie by MC Hammer. And we just would play that. Like, hey, why not?
Yeah.
So you just would be going and you would see that. He got some cartoons that would play that probably should have had the rights to, but hey, you know what? You got it. You're not going to see that. You're not going to go see that down at the multiplex unless it's the special added new attraction of the latest, whatever you call it, movie. One thing that we did have that I didn't think of, but somebody pointed out that could have been taken as offensive was we had this instrumental version of the national anthem, and it just showed this flag waving, and it was just very. It was very old, and it kind of it'd been repaired. It had some splices, so instead of the it was more like
That's awesome.
And we would play that, for Memorial Day, Labor Day, and Flag Day.
Of course.
The big three.
As
4th of July, I guess.
Yeah.
if you want. But we had lots of little clips like that we would just throw in, old intermission things. Yeah. One of my favorite intermission clips was, it got so bad that we couldn't show it anymore because it just would break every time. There's this, and of course it's really faded because it was on the cheapest film stock. Yeah. And it was 20, 30 years old by the time. It's this man, and he's crawling through the desert, and you can tell it's just hot.
Yeah.
And he reaches up, his arm goes up, and he goes, "Salted, please." And then it just shows him devouring some popcorn. It is my favorite, and I can't find it. I've searched on the interwebs. It's not like it has a title.
Yeah.
It's Popcorn Man, Desert, movie, film, clip, admission.
Nothing.
Intermission, whatever.
Oh, wow.
But that's the kind of thing I like, the little extra things.
Yeah.
And I was kind of worried because we go to digital, you can't have that. No, you can have whatever you want with digital.
Yeah. And it'll stay the same.
It's not gonna fade because it was on low quality server or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not gonna look.
Unless something happens to the hard drive, which
then it's completely gone.
Yeah.
It's not
it's all or nothing.
Yeah. Do you show? Some places have let's show the A movie second, the movie that people are there to see. Let's show that 2nd, so they'll stay.
Right.
Now, like, for example, I went to see Inside Out. Granted, there were like 4 cars there. But when you get to the second movie, everyone else left because, well, we're going to leave.
Right.
Who wants to stay for this old movie?
Right.
And we would have that a lot too, where if we put like the big movie first, there's like this mass exodus.
Oh yeah. Well, and
intermission.
even like I was surprised at how many people left before the Avengers started at our drive-in experience.
And part of that could have been the regulars, because it wasn't its 4th week there. Maybe they'd already
That's
seen it a
true.
couple times.
That's true.
And then there's always going to be people who leave. And there'd be times like, oh, nobody's going to leave because the movie everybody's here to see is second. There'll still be people who leave, and I would be like, oh well, clearly they left. When we showed Men in Black, the owner because I felt very proud because I got to like sort of like suggest some like, hey, what if we showed this, or what if we showed that and that, and we showed Men in Black, and he wanted to show this movie called Buddy with it. It was like this like ape movie.
Oh, you know what? I vaguely remember this.
It was like the movie that nobody wanted to see that came out in like May.
Yeah.
Big 4th of July movie, Men in Black. And it's like, no, nobody, Buddy and Men in Black. No, nobody wants to see Buddy. We got to have something good. So we talked him into it. Would probably cost more, but we showed Men in Black with My Best Friend's Wedding, which had come out like only like a week earlier. But they're all Sony Pictures. So,
right.
And we actually got the most ever tickets. Had over 1,000 adults on that Saturday night.
Wow.
Whereas imagine with Buddy, we probably would have had like 50. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
And then a couple weeks later, Air Force One, big Harrison Ford, Get Off My Plane,
right?
Biggest movie of all time, Buddy, and then Air Force One. He has had to get Buddy in there. He's just dying for it.
Loves those apes.
Yes, but there were times I'm like, hey, the Mummy remake,
right?
It's like, oh, what should we show with that? Let's show another Universal picture. We want to show something from the same company. We want to show something older. And I made a suggestion. That if you want to clear out your drive-in, you show The Mummy and follow up with the remake of Psycho.
Okay.
Because that'll do it.
Right.
There's so many other movies we could have done. It's like, you know what? Hey, it's going to cost like, $200 or whatever for the play the whole weekend, and The Mummy's going to make billions of dollars.
Oh yeah.
That's what. Yes, I'm pretty proud of that. We played the remake of Psycho. Good. Played at least at one drive-in, and it was 5 months old by this point. It was, one of those movies that was like kind of popular for one weekend and then kind of forgotten about.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't go wrong with Vince Vaughn being being Norman Bates.
Almost as good as Fred Claus. That's my review of the movie.
Did you know? Now most of the movies that they played at this Sundance Kid Drive-In, fairly commonplace, but on September 22nd, 1995, which, as we all know, is the release date of Seven.
Okay.
But also another movie came out that was expected to be the biggest hit of all time, and that was a little movie called Showgirls.
Nice. They
showed Showgirls at this drive-in. Now, it's a double screen, so guess what they did on this other screen?
What?
Take a guess.
Well, if they're showing Showgirls on one screen.
Yes.
Means they probably had something for children on.
Now, what if you were a child and you go and you look at the wrong screen?
That's true.
Other screen closed.
Really?
Only one screen open. So that now in the second week, 2 weeks, and then they got rid of it because it's Showgirls. Nobody wanted to see it. Hackers, PG-13 rated Hackers.
Okay.
Too bad, no one under 17 admitted, picture ID required. So let's say you wanted to go see Hackers. Too bad, you have to be 17 because you might accidentally stay and watch Showgirls.
Of course.
And it will ruin your life. The first and only NC-17 movie to get a wide release. And I imagine probably there never will be another.
No. Because
it's just, if there was going to be an NC-17 movie,
it
would have happened by now.
Right.
It's just the stigma is...
No,
we're going to trim it to get an R. Hey, here's a quick triple feature. Now I showed you a triple feature. There was a drive-in out in, I think it's in Maryland, where Paddington, The Imitation Game, and It Follows. Because they're all released by the Weinstein Company because the Weinstein Company says, you show our movies together.
Wait, they're one of those people?
Yeah. Because
Oh
the
my God.
Miramax, the Weinsteins. Here was a triple feature of the Sundance Kid Drive-In. Let's see if you could withstand this triple feature. Dr. Dolittle, the Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
Then Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, okay.
And then The Truman Show.
Oh,
In that order.
that's an emotional roller coaster. I don't know if I could handle that.
Because I have extensively looked at double features and made up my own double features
Yeah.
for years, let's play a little game
Okay.
where you tell me a title of a movie and I tell you what could be a good double feature with it. Now, of course, the double features are typically either released around the same time.
Yeah.
Bonus points if it's the same studio.
Okay.
Or sometimes you want the same genre, or even like the same actor or actress. Go see a double feature with, Kirstie Alley.
Yeah. America's Sweetheart.
Look Who's Talking and Madhouse.
Yeah.
Was a big one.
Wow. Okay.
So anything post 1990 through, let's say, a couple years ago.
Okay. We'll start with something a little more current, not totally current. Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
Finding Nemo.
All right. So you get the bonus points for Disney.
You get the bonus points for Disney. You get the bonus points for Sea Theme. Plus, makes a Jeffrey Rush double feature.
Whoa. Wait. Who does Jeffrey Rush play in Pirates of the Caribbean?
He's like the head pirate guy.
He is?
Yeah.
Now this one is a favorite of ours.
Mm-hmm.
UHF.
Well,
and it's technically not in your criteria.
It
it's
is
89, but
UHF, any of the big hits from the summer of 1989 would have been good to play with it. At the Auburn Garrett Drive-In, which I think was possibly, to be purposely confusing, it was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, followed by UHF. So could you imagine, you're just there and you don't know what's going on, and you're just like, are they showing Raiders next? I don't get it. But any of the hits, you could have played it with Ghostbusters 2.
Ooh, yeah.
Possibly Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Those would any be good choices. The other place that I know that did played it with Karate Kid Part 3.
Is that the one with Hilary Swank?
No, that's Part 4. I don't know. It wasn't numbered. That was called The Next Karate Kid.
Okay.
Which I remember. I remember watching the preview, and there's a part where what's the old guy? I don't know Karate Kid.
Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Is that the one that Jaden Smith played in the remake?
Yeah.
Okay.
He played Mr. Miyagi
Okay.
in the
Okay.
Karate
Good.
Kid.
I don't. Is this say something about me that I know very little about Karate Kid? Karate Kid's one of those things like, I don't like karate. I don't like kids. I'll just watch movies for adults.
See, that sounds perfectly fine.
No, the next Karate Kid, I only saw the preview, and there's a part where Mr. Miyagi walks in on her, and she's like wearing a bra, and it's like, whoa. It's like, whoa. This Hilary Swank, she's got.
I was so mad at her when I watched that movie because she was so awful. Like, she was just so rude.
I mean, I'm trying to think of a joke about Boys Don't Cry, but I just can't. I've never seen that either.
No, me either.
I know what it's about.
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't make a joke about it, but
I feel like the statute of limitations on jokes for Boys Don't Cry has long passed.
Yeah. If I know that they say boys don't cry, but that movie was so bad, I shed a couple tears.
Hey,
Next Karate Kid.
How about moving on?
Yes.
How about My Girl?
Well, My Girl, obviously for me the obvious choice is Hook.
Ooh, yeah.
Though, I mean, My Girl did come out in November of '91, but back then it was not uncommon to open in April or May and still be showing movies that were that old because they weren't on VHS yet.
Right.
It was actually this nice sweet spot where it's like, oh, you want to see that movie? Too bad. Except playing at the drive-in.
Yeah.
I know the Addams Family played with it at Auburn Garrett, but for me, Hook and My Girl. That's the Sony Pictures owned double feature. I'm pretty sure Hook was TriStar. One of them was TriStar, one was Columbia proper, but
Oh.
they were essentially from a distribution standpoint the same company.
Yeah. Let's see. See if I can get one more. How about was it called Godzilla 2000 or was it just Godzilla and it was released in the year 2000? The really bad one.
It was in fact called Godzilla 2000.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it was released by the Sony Corporation. You could have played a Hollow Man, another Sony release, released around the same time. Now I always like the higher rated movie to be first. Godzilla
Yeah.
2000 getting a PG for basically making a movie in, I want to say the 90s, but I guess it was made in the 90s. That was back when everything was being called 2000 to show it's in the future. Like Blues Brothers 2000, which came out in '98 and was terrible. But is in the future because it's called 2000. I feel like Godzilla 2000 kind of missed the boat by actually coming out in 2000.
Yeah.
But Pokemon 2000 did the same thing
Yeah.
by coming out in 2000.
Yeah.
It was a quick cash in.
Yeah, but I don't know. Pokemon gets some leeway, I think.
You could you could show another like kind of family-ish movie like Chicken Run. Wouldn't have been a bad choice. Maybe like The Perfect Storm would have been a good, maybe like a good like Labor Day, maybe like a triple feature. You got like your Godzilla 2000, and then like The Perfect Storm, and then maybe Hollow Man.
Yeah.
Maybe some X-Men in there. Summer 2000 had a lot of good choices. Though if you were going to show Godzilla 2000 at a drive-in, you would show it on the third weekend, because the first 2 weekends it came out, it was required, because typically a movie has to play 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's why a lot of times you'll see, like if you ever look at like the theater counts on movies, if they're a really big flop, in week 2 it has the exact same number of screens.
Oh, I see.
In week 3 it'll drop by like 1,000.
Yeah.
That's why, because it's like you must show our movie for 2 weeks,
I see.
and that's why. So you didn't have any stumpers in there, but kind of were lowballing it. Not lowballing it. What's like the sport term
Oh,
when
I was throwing you some softballs there.
Yes, that's the sports term I was referring to. Well, in conclusion, I'd like you to pull up the weekend box office for
right.
May 4th, 2012.
May 4th, 2012. Okay.
Now, typically these days, in the second week, a movie will drop by almost 50%.
Uh-huh.
This is just something that we live in a first weekend society.
Sure.
So, what's the number one movie?
Marvel's The Avengers.
Yes, which was the highest grossing opening weekend of all time.
Right.
So, and then you'll look down the list. What are like number 2?
This is very interesting to me. Think Like a Man.
Yes.
Steve Harvey's hilarious picture.
Now, what was the percent drop of that?
Let's see. That was negative. It says negative 54%.
So from the weekend before, it dropped 54%.
Oh, I see.
Okay. So you scroll down. What happens when you get to say, as I want to say 10 or 11? Is there anything that sticks out as not dropping?
Well, yeah. At number 12, John Carter goes up by 1,000.
Oh,
It goes up by actually like almost 1,300%.
yes. And you know why that was?
No.
Because drive-ins matter, and the double feature with the Avengers was John Carter.
Oh, okay.
So when everything else is dropping by like 50%,
Yeah.
guess what randomly goes up 1,000?
Man.
Even though
John
there's not that
Carter.
many left. That was the go-to double feature on May 4th.
That was a miserable movie.